up the success of the inaugural International Day of Play in 2024 and the adoption of the General Assembly resolution recognizing every child's right to play. International Day of Play is an annual event celebrated 11th June to promote the importance of play in children's lives. It's a day to encourage people of all ages to engage in playful activities, fostering creativity, imagination, and joy. The 2025 International Play Day highlights the significance of play in children's well-being with the theme, Choose Play Every Day. With friends or on the street like in the past. What is the reason behind this and its impact on the physical, emotional, mental, psychological well-being of an individual? These and more are some of the issues we've been discussing on the program Nigeria Today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ikeria Clinton. Now with me in the studio is a child psychologist, Thank God Ocheho. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
Also with us in the studio is a teacher, educator, and a conflict analyst, Dr. Philip Hayab. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'll start with you, Dr. Philip. What is the significance of, of play in the overall well-being and development of the child?
Well, I would, as a teacher, I would say that, and as a parent, play is very key. It supports children to develop psychomotor skills. It helps children to develop communication skills. When children do not play, even in traditional African society, they are taken to be ill. So play is central because children, it has been proven beyond reasonable doubt, actually learn through play, fun. For instance, even the lullabies we sing to the children or to a child when they are born, when they cry, is actually not, sometimes this lullaby doesn't even mean much. It's just sort of an entertainment, and then it loses a child and causes them to sleep. So without play, we use the English proverb that all work without play makes Jack a dull boy or a dull child. So play is central in the overall development of a child, particularly when it comes to learning new information into their life.
Okay, now over to you, Thank God. You are the psychologist here. So you tell us what, the impact of play on a child's emotional, psychological, social, and cognitive growth.
Okay, thank you very much. I think for children, play is beyond fun. It's how they make sense of the world. It's how they learn. It's their language. That's why for them, play is intrinsically motivated. It's not something you reward them for doing. It's something that they love, they enjoy, you understand? And it impacts so much in terms of their development. And one of the good things about play is that it's holistic. When children start playing, they don't just develop cognitively in terms of their mind, they also develop physically, emotionally, and socially. So in specific terms, I think when children play for physical growth, it helps their fine and gross muscles to be able to develop properly. It allows for balance and coordination. I remember when we were growing up, there was this play that quite a number of us used to engage in, but it's no longer, I don't think it's something that, especially the Gen Z or the Alpha generation, engaging right now. Call it the sway, or what some other people call hopscotch. So what you do is that it helps you to create some form of balance, coordination, and there's that tente where you...
I wanted to mention that. You took that about tente.
The hand and foot coordination, know. So all of this play for physical development, and beyond the physical, we also talk about the emotional development. That's where children learn how to manage their emotions, because when they engage in play with other children, there are times they will throw tantrum, there are times they will engage in inappropriate behavior, But at that point in time, there are people to guide them to let them understand that this behavior is not appropriate, and in the process they learn how to engage in the appropriate behavior. Also for social skills, social competence is not developed in the classroom. It's even developed when children get around to play. And for children, the environment is their classroom. So as they play, they learn how to interact, they learn how to resolve conflict, they learn how to regulate their emotions and so on and so forth. So it helps for social development, for emotional development, as well as physical development.
Now, Dr. Hayab, back in the day, he mentioned some specific plays in those days, the 10-10, the sway, and all of that. It's not common nowadays. We see a lot of children being indoors. I know back in the days, we come out and we build houses, mold houses and all of that, cook, have our cooking pots. But now it's no longer, trending. So what are some of the reasons you think, have affected this trend of plays?
It may be urbanization is actually catching up with us, and then we've not been able to manage urbanization in the way it is in the West. For instance, when I was a student in Europe, you'd see parks almost everywhere. They will stop you from building in certain areas. But now, before you see a park in a city, everywhere is houses. So we actually have forgotten that these children need some spaces in order to interact, engage, and get to know themselves. So yes, urbanization. And I think the other problem that we've got is that we tend to imitate and imitate wrongly, because the kind of space from which we grew up from gave us the opportunity to have lots of spaces to play. We had football pitches almost everywhere, even in the compound of the house. Today, you see, the best children can do is to try to play maybe at the doorpost, and then the house is also maybe interlocked, which is in itself is danger for children. And from what I know in other climes, when you drive within 5 kilometers or less, you would always find a children's park, and in most cases you see children being taken there by their parents. This we've not done. So we've also not done the kind of town planning where we will not kill everything that we have had and then imbibe new ones. So yes, I do think that we have a big problem when it comes to sustainability in this part of the world, and it is very unfortunate that the key to child's development, which is play, has been taken away from the child. Little wonder the children now no longer listen.
Now, talk to us. Are there some specific kinds of plays that are, meant for, some developmental stages?
Okay, I think let me just quickly say this. I remember when I was in primary school, one of the feedback I got from my teacher in my report sheet, I think then I didn't do well academically. So what the teacher said in the report sheet is that you are too playful, and that's to a large extent, reduced the level of play in which I was engaging in. But growing up, I now realized that, play is the language of children. That's how we learn, that's how we are able to develop. So there are different types of play. You talked about constructive play, where you see children engage in building blocks. It helps them cognitively to be able to, look at how they can construct buildings, puzzles, and all. So there's also the cooperative play, where children play together. It helps for teamwork, it helps for cooperation, they learn how to share. So there's also, of course, the solitary play, where a child play alone. That of course can help for reflections, help them to be able to think. Or there's also the part for imaginative play, where you do a lot of pretend play. You understand? Yes. So all of these things help the child to develop, not just in one aspect of their development, because there are different domains of development. So not just in one aspect of their development, but in all areas. And that's why play is important, because when you get to school, you sit down, you are just listening to a teacher teaching. It's only helping you to develop in one aspect. But we play, and the good thing about play is that you are creating your own knowledge or constructing your own knowledge. Because yes, there are some play that adult guides you, but there are others that is self-driven. You play alone, you create things, you solve problems, you are creative, you are imaginative, you know, you are confused about how to fix this thing, but you start fixing it by yourself, and in the process you're learning, and you see all of these things are beneficial for the child. But once you take that away and you begin to control how the child does things, before you know, the child begins to work based only on your rules and not necessarily thinking creatively on how to create their own rules, you know, so they keep depending on you for everything, and that's not good for their development.
So at what point would you say that the play is too much? Because sometimes some children want to play from morning till night, not even considering their academic,
So it
life.
depends on the levels in which they are. So, of course, if for instance you are dealing with a 2-year-old child, what do you want to teach the child academically? Let the child just keep playing. You understand?
It's a play,
But
sleep.
you get so they get to a stage where you know, okay, they begin to understand rules. They begin to understand the need for balance. You understand? But you don't take out the play out of them. And the other part to it is that even for instance, children who are kinesthetic learners, you know, that use their body, you know, movement, everything to learn. You can integrate your learning in the play, make your learning fun. Learning doesn't have to be one way where children just sit in the classroom and they are just listening to one lecturers or teachers. At times, teachers can even be boring and they are not concentrating. You know, so it's about understanding the environment, looking at how you can make your learning fun, integrate and play into your learning, you know, and the learning the process.
So, Dr. Hayab, tell us about, discovering potentials in children through play.
Yeah, so one of the skills that we found when we came to school was that we were allowed to try out some things by ourselves. Yeah. So the kind of educational system we got when we were in children, I remember the first time I wrote was on the sand. So we were asked to go out and try to write ABCD on the sand. So you can't make very visible errors there. You can always correct yourself. And by the time you master that, then you come to try it on the book. So now there is a problem. I think there was a time we lost it, but we're beginning to get it back. There's a pattern of teaching now we call activity-based or learner-centered. Now, it is true fun. Once you take away, even in class, and the teacher comes and everybody is stiff, definitely the class will end and people might not even remember anything. The other argument in the educational, with educational experts when it comes to the role of play in learning is that people remember, or children actually remember, the activities they do in class much more than what the teacher taught them. So as you remember the activity, what was taught will now come back to your mind and somehow you recollect. So now when you sit, you can remember what you did in primary 1, but to remember the topic that was taught on that day, even in your 400 level, you are unlikely to remember. So play is an integral part of learning which we have to re-inculcate in teachers and in parents, allow the child some space to try something out, and then sometimes they fail. Even when we were children, we were allowed to touch the lantern. The kerosene lantern, it is when you touch it and then it burns, you know that this is a no-go area.
Thing hurts.
So it's not everything that we have to teleguide the child. We had a training that ended yesterday, and one of the issues we talked about was that creativity was the highest level of mental development. So once you take away play from children, then there will be no room for creativity, and that will be dangerous for them in the course of their development.
Now, thank God, how do we encourage play? Okay, before you answer that, we'll take a short break now and listen to, some Nigerians on, this issue of our discourse. Don't go away.
Play helps children to think rightly. It makes them to be coordinated, well coordinated. And if you see, children that are playful are usually very, very intelligent in the class.
Luckily, where we live, we have an outdoor garden and we have a play place for children. So they are encouraged to mold things with clay, to use the normal swings and all that.
It's really, really very important as a child growing up. When you go back from school, you need to have a handbook very, very important. You need to build yourself. You need to help. The parents need to help the child to build themselves. You put them together. Don't just base them on educational activities only.
Maybe restrictions, maybe religious-wise. If a child doesn't play, it affects their adulthood.
Psychologically, play is a very good attribute for every child, because there's a saying that goes that all work and no play make Jack a dull boy.
There should be more awareness on this. Like, we parents should know. It's like to you press to create more awareness on that. We like parents will know that so day it's a child playing this.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today. We are looking at play and the child's well-being. And of course, I have a child psychologist here in the studio and an educator. Now, back to you, thank God. Quite a lot of response there from people, how important it is. But then you say every walk without play make Jack a dull boy. But every play without work also make Jack a lazy boy. So we're told. So how do we strike the balance?
Okay, striking the balance is the fact that, like I said earlier on, for children, they need to play, and as they begin to grow, you also teach them the importance of work. You understand? So it's about the stages of development. There are certain things a 2-year-old child will do, is normal for their development. There are things an adult will do, you will know is abnormal for the development. You shouldn't be doing that thing at that age. You understand? Like a baby. Exactly. You understand? So
sometimes we need to play to raise attention.
No, of course, I'm not saying adults should not play. Yes. So for instance, will you allow your 2-year-old child to go and be working? You understand? So basically, I think the most important thing is that we should understand the stage and what is appropriate for each stage. So that in itself will help to create that balance.
So for us that are adults, what kind of play do we need?
You can see, like for instance, when I do training, I always tell adults, this training, forget about work. Let's recreate some of the childhood plays. So in some of those training, we do 10-10, we do suwe. You understand? Because again, the psychological dimension to it is that.
And obviously, your children will not be there when you're doing all that. Yeah.
Well, funny enough, even at this age, sometimes I play with my children and I play their play.
Oh, really?
Yes, because you don't want to engage children from an adult perspective. You want to come down to their level to be able to engage in their own play. And that's where you can connect with them, very well. So sometimes, because play is also therapeutic, it helps for healing. It helps to, help people to resolve traumatic experience. That's why most of the time in the work I do, we do a lot of expressive therapy. We call it expressive therapy, specifically play therapy, where you can do a lot of painting, drawing. It's an outlet to express your emotions. You get some unresolved emotion, unconscious conflict within you that you're not even aware of. It could be childhood trauma or whatever. So sometimes you just want to help you to be able to release some form of anxiety, fears, that are deposited in you or suppressed in you that you don't even know is there. So it's important for adults also to play. Once in a while, life is not about every time you're serious.
Yes.
So it's have your fun.
So, Dr. Hayab, how can we as parents, encourage our children to express themselves through play? Because sometimes we want to suppress it. You play too much. Hey, stop, come here, stay there,
I think we need to, the quest to want to make it is also another very push that, or maybe a negative push on our lives, forgetting that we actually live in the world and we need to allow ourselves to express those hidden things. So yes, like my colleague said, when I go to the village, I go to the place where the local draft is played, and I will now discover that I still have the skills, because I'll be able to say, if you do this, this will work. And it helps me to actually, first and foremost, calm down, then secondly, integrate. So they no longer see me like that city dweller, but they see me as one of them. And it actually builds a bond. So you can see why these stand-up comedies are actually sailing globally. These stand-up comedies, they're sailing now because people are actually tired of being too serious. So people want a time to lose up, and therefore you see Sekindaria here or Sabinos, though sometimes they overdo the things, but the one good thing is that it gives you the leeway to laugh it out. In cultural studies, we discovered that when Africans were actually tensed, even in the olden days, they look for something that will ease off the tension, and somebody can crack a joke. Because play is not only that which is done with the hands. As we developed in our mental capacity, we can actually be playful in the use of the words, and then it makes people laugh and it relaxes their nerves and sometimes gives them the feeling that, oh, after all, I have nothing to lose. It's still all right. So the more we play, the less we're going to have issues of suicides. That is,
Now, thank God, we have, increased, screen time. Use of phones is reducing let's say the time of play, the normal outdoor plays that people, how can we, walk around this? And what impact is technology having on the outdoor plays?
So I think the first thing is ignorance can be expensive, in the sense that when a lot of parents or maybe educators or caregivers do not understand the importance of play, they will substitute it for something else. But there are people who understand the impact of play, that they have not allowed technology to substitute that aspect of their child's life. Because I know, of course, when we were growing up, like I said earlier on, there was not a lot of technology, so more of the play was outdoor play.
Exactly.
You understand? Now you have technology, more of the play have become indoor play, where sometimes it's even the child playing alone on his phone, and it can be there for 24 hours, as long as there's food, it's fine, which is also not good for their development. Because once a child gets engrossed with technology or games, one, it becomes addictive in the process, and that is not good. Two, it doesn't help their cognitive development. You understand? Because they are just engaging in what is being done. It's not helping them to think creatively, to create things by themselves, to construct knowledge. And it's also not helping social development, because they are just alone working with machine. They don't know how to regulate emotions, because you need to engage with people to be able to exactly with human being, So it becomes difficult for a lot of them to be able to relate effectively, or to even resolve conflict, effectively. So that in itself is not good, because human relationship is very key. That is the foundation for every development, the capacity to be able to relate with other people. So one thing, as I said this on this point, is the fact that play collapses the dividing wall. When you see children play, they don't think that you are Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, or Muslim, Christian. You understand? So that's one good thing about play. It collapses that wall. You are able to play irrespective of your background, your tribe, or your religion. People just engage in play. But as they begin to grow up, adults begin to put those thoughts in their mind. Don't play with this, don't play with this. Is Igbo, is Hausa, is Muslim, is Christian, and all. So it becomes a major problem in itself.
Thank you very much. Thank God Ocheho is a child psychologist. Thank you so much for coming on the program and sharing your perspective with us. And Dr. Philip Ayab, teacher, educator, and conflict analyst. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And thank you for being part of the program. I'm Eucharia Clinton. Goodbye.